G'day guys, Solid here and welcome back to another episode of Adventure News, where we talk the latest, the greatest, and sometimes the hated adventure and dual sport stories. And today we've got a nice big juicy rumor for you. Apparently Honda might be intending to release their Transalp concept, yes, their middleweight adventure bike, at this year's big motorcycle shows at the end of the year. So that's very exciting news. So let's just roll that intro and jump into all those juicy rumors. So news outlet Visor Down has stated that Honda may be planning to release their baby Africa Twin or the Transalp, whichever way they go with this middleweight adventure bike from Honda, at the end of the year at the big motorcycle show. So that's very exciting news that we could get our first glimpse at this heavily covered and heavily discussed middleweight adventure bike that's coming from Honda. So obviously this is just a news site reporting on this. So we've got to join some rumors together because of course we never take the word of any journalist. We've got to piece together the information, triangulate all that stuff, and try and figure out whether this news is true. So this rumor started with MCN. They had an insider who they said is very credible that stated that they were using a bought out version of what is used in the NC750X at the moment, the parallel twin that is used for those commuting style bikes. They bought it out to 790cc's and they were currently developing a middleweight adventure bike at Honda. Now at the time this was supposed to be a very reputable source, and it does look like it does have some credence, because then a year later we did get confirmation from Visor Down this time that Honda had trademarked once again the Transalp name in America. Now those two things don't necessarily mean that they both make each other true, but you can see that there's a pattern here of news coming out, credible news that Honda are in the works making a middleweight adventure bike. On the other side, it also makes complete sense. That's a big gap in Honda's lineup at the moment. They've got the CB500X and they've got the NC750X, but they don't really have a competitor to the Yamaha Tenere 700 or the KTM 790 Adventure, and it's a big gaping hole. I think a lot of people really would like to see a baby Africa Twins. I think this is very likely that we'll get a middleweight adventure bike from Honda. It's just a matter of time. The other piece of news that lends itself to being fairly solid with this actually being an adventure bike that is being developed is Young Machine came out stating that this would be called a Transalp, not a baby Africa Twin. So Young Machine have been pretty on the money over the years with their brakes, especially from Honda. So they're generally a fairly credible source on what is going on within the Honda walls. So we've got three pieces of information over the span of a couple of years. So it really does seem like Honda are certainly at least thinking very hard, if not already working on this adventure bike. But there's a few little pieces of information that Visor Down have released with this announcement. So the interesting thing that I noticed in this article is that Visor Down are actually referring to this bike as having an 850cc motor, obviously fuel injected 4-stroke parallel twin, but this is the first time that I've heard the motor referred to as 850cc's. All other reports that I've read have stated either 790 or 800cc, so that's a 50cc bump. So make of that what you will. Definitely, if it comes out at that size, that means it'll probably make some decent amount of power, but at the same time, hopefully it's not added any additional weight to the originally touted 800cc's that it was. Although it isn't a big difference, so I'm not too concerned about it, but it is interesting. This is the first time we're hearing 850cc's, so take note of that. So the other interesting piece of information here is that this site again confirms that Honda are intending to use the Transalp name for this middleweight bike rather than using the Africa Twin name and having a big and a small Africa Twin. They're just going to go with the Transalp name as their middleweight adventure bike. Now this makes a lot of sense to me as it's easier to differentiate the models, there's no confusion. And like I've said in many of my other videos, the Transalp is a well-branded name with a great history of adventure riding in its background from Honda. So they certainly won't have any trouble with brand recognition from us dual sport and adventure lovers. The third and final piece of information that's possibly the most interesting out of all three tidbits from this article is where they think they're taking this Transalp. I discussed this in my previous video. I gave different scenarios for where Honda could take this. They could either do a baby Africa twin and very hardcore dirt orientated, just like the Cemera 700. They could stick with the ethos of the Transalp, and that's kind of a gentleman's adventure bike. It's fairly dirt capable, but doesn't have quite as serious off-road chops like the Africa twin does. And they could just take the middle of the road option with spoke wheels, but nothing too crazy. And the third option I talked about was basically a beefed up NC 750X with spoke wheels and not really too much change in there. Thankfully, I think Honda definitely aren't going with that slightly changed NC 750X, so I'm quite relieved to hear that, because I think that would be a bit of a misnomer to do that, as it would just be too close to the CB500X in my eyes. So this article is going with my first assumption, and I'm very excited about this, that Honda are definitely going for the hardcore dirt option here. So they're going the Cemera 700 or their big Africa twin route when they first released the Africa twin CRF 1000L. So heavily dirt orientated with decent travel, great ground clearance, spoke wheels, 2118 back, proper dirt-worthy adventure bike. So that's quite exciting news. Of course, this is a rumor, as it's just a news site talking about it, but they're postulating that that's definitely the way that Honda are going here with this Transalp. They're not going to follow the soft adventure bike model with the Transalp, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I really like a middle-of-the-road adventure bike. I had an F700 GS that was just great for road touring and dirt roads. But I also absolutely love an adventure bike that really can get dirty. And I think that's why the Cemera 700 has been so popular. So it makes sense that Honda would follow suit with their Transalp middleweight and make it a really dirt-worthy option. And I think that is the way to go, as that's where the market's focused. We want lighter weight, we want more dirt capability. We don't necessarily need 200 horsepower and 300 kilo adventure bikes. We want to head in the other direction and really enjoy that off-road experience. You've got plenty of middle of the road adventure bikes already, so I really hope that this is correct and Honda are going for the dirt-worthy Transalp option. But let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think? Are you wanting to see a really dirt-worthy adventure bike middleweight from Honda? Or are you wanting to see something with cast wheels that's just a decent adventure bike with a good amount of road touring in it and some good fuel economy? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, I've been Chronicles of Solid. Don't forget to stay shiny side up, hit that like button, and I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.